move past the word visualization because I think it kind of conjures up a little bit too much of a spiritual association. The word that's used in science is called mental rehearsal. And mental rehearsal, there's two types of mental rehearsal. There's what's called internal mental imaging, which means you're in the scene as the first person experiencing it. And then there's called external mental imaging, which is you're observing yourself in the scene. It turns out that when you are actually in the first person and not the third person, that action of rehearsing what you're doing produces the strong biological change. Now let's talk about this. You can take a group of people that have never played the piano before, and you can do a functional brain scan on them, and then you can teach them one-handed scales and chords. And they'll practice those chords 2 hours a day for 5 days. At the end of 5 days, they grow a whole new set of circuits on the opposite side of the brain. Well, that makes sense. You learn something new. Learning is making new synaptic connections. You get your body involved with some instruction. When you get your body involved, you're going to have a new experience. Experience enriches the brain. You pay attention to what you're doing. You got to pay attention. You got to stay present. And if you repeat it over and over again, firing and wiring, you assemble new networks of neurons equal to your experience. Nothing new there. But you can take a group of people and you can have them close their eyes, do a brain scan on them before the experiment, 5 days later do a brain scan after. And for 2 hours a day, they mentally rehearse playing those scales and chords. At the end of 5 days, they grow the same amount of circuits in their brain as the people actually physically doing the exercise. So what's the relevance? Number one, when you're truly focused and you're truly paying attention, your brain does not know the difference between what's going on out there and what's going on in here. So the thought becomes the experience, and the brain looks like it's been playing the piano for the last 5 days, but they never lifted a finger. Now, from a biological standpoint, our brains are a record of the past. They're an artifact of everything we've learned and experienced to this moment. When we prime the brain to change its circuitry before the experience, now the brain is no longer a record of the past, it's now a map to the future. And so as we warm up those brain circuits, it's more easy for us to slip into a supernatural behavior. If you take those people and you set them from the piano, and they've never played the piano before, but they've been mentally rehearsing for the last 5 days, they'll play those scales and chords. Like magic, they just learned how to do it just by changing their internal state. So then, the power of mental rehearsal, of imaging, primes the brain and body to look like the future has already occurred. And when you set the extent of your limit, and you can image what you can do even further than what's normal, then you are stepping into the unknown. And of course, then your body is going to follow your mind because the experience has already happened. The question is, what thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain? What do you want to put your attention behind? What behaviors do you want to demonstrate today in one lifetime? The act of rehearsing your behaviors begins to install the circuits in your brain, priming your brain for the future. And if you keep installing the hardware over and over again, the hardware is going to become a software program. And who knows, you may start thinking like an unlimited person. You may start feeling and behaving like a healthy person. And then, of course, can you teach your body emotionally what that future is going to feel like before it's made manifest? That means you don't wait for your healing to feel wholeness. You don't wait for your wealth to feel success. You don't wait for the mystical moment to feel awe. That's the old model of reality of cause and effect. Waiting for something outside of us to change how we feel inside of us. And when we feel better inside of us, we pay attention to whoever caused it. What if it doesn't happen? Then we spend the majority of our life in lack, waiting for it to happen. The quantum model of reality is about cause and effect. The moment we start feeling whole, our healing begins. The moment we're in awe of life, we're going to have a mystical experience. The moment we feel worthy and abundant, our wealth is coming. The moment we feel empowered, we're moving towards our success. The moment we're in love with life, in love with ourselves, our world changes. That's causing an effect. So the model then of change is becoming conscious of our unconscious self. So if 95% of who we are is hardwired and conditioned, you got to start thinking about what you've been thinking about and change it. You got to become aware of of how you act and what your habits are. So familiar, so conscious of it, that you would never go unconscious again.